When we discuss the role of the OSEDF and its dissolution, we are witnessing a crucial moment in how government operations are structured. Senator Booker's statements on this issue bring forth critical questions about the future of law enforcement, resources, and public integrity. The ongoing transitions reveal a shift in how agencies will operate moving forward, which raises broader concerns.
Booker, first to OSEDF. The most important point is that the work of OSEDF is continuing. The executive office is being dissolved. We have said that, but the work of OSEDF is continuing. The resources that were previously provided to law enforcement organizations through OSEDF are now going directly to those organizations. I will assure you, no work will be sacrificed as a result of getting rid of the executive office of OSEDF. The agents and the attorneys are working with Homeland Security. They're all working together as a unit.
Okay, Attorney General Bondi, I'm running out of time, and I'm going to put some questions in QFRs, because again, this is conservative think tanks and others are pointing about literally over 1,000 people being taken off of things that I think would concern the public. I'd like to get that, but I also just want to quickly mention that for the record, I want to ask about the public corruption unit as well. We now have gone from a public corrupt integrity section that went from 36 full-time prosecutors to now only 2. And yet we know, Democrats and Republicans, there is a real problem with public corruption in our country. And we know that the DOJ has stopped enforcing the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, disbanded the Foreign Influence Task Force, dismissed the indictment against Trump donor Andrew Weidenhorn, cut back on white-collar investigations. My list goes on. I'm running out of time, but I will ask for the record against not only reassigning officers and prosecutorial resources from the other things I mentioned, but public corruption is really important. I want to talk about an area of bipartisanship on this committee, which is antitrust. This is a very bipartisan area. In June, the Antitrust Division finalized a proposed consent decree with Hewlett-Packard Enterprises and Juniper Networks, settling the DOJ's challenge to the company's $14 billion merger. Reportedly, your Chief of Staff Chad Mizell and Acting Deputy Attorney General Woodard overruled career antitrust staff and approved the merger. This is a massive area of concern for Americans writ large. This is an area where corporate power is growing. Corporate concentration in our country is happening at great degree. I'm grateful that the ranking member with Mike Lee on a committee that is really trying to get into this disturbing trend, and the issues right now in the Justice Department, the resources being put on it, and the appearance of improprieties that we're seeing are troubling. All I want to ask as my final question is, would you commit just to talk about antitrust, to coming before the antitrust subcommittee led by Senator Lee to discuss antitrust enforcement in our country?
We're over time. May I answer, Chairman?
Yes.
Senator Booker, I work hand in hand with Gail Slater. She is doing an incredible job. I said that earlier. I will let Gail Slater handle all matters with antitrust. The HP matter, Juniper, is a pending matter still because, as you know, it has to go before the courts, even after a decision has been made, and that's where it's pending right now. If I can go back to your previous 2 questions, first about our agents being reassigned. Our agents are working tirelessly on their day jobs and with Homeland Security, and right now they're not getting paid, and they're on the streets during a government shutdown working to keep every city in this country safe, in New Jersey and in every state. They're working together with DHS on task forces, but they're also doing their core mission, and they're getting child predators off the street. They are working so hard with all the agencies hand in hand. That has not been sacrificed, and I'm so proud of the work that the FBI, DEA, ATF are doing. ATF agents have worked tirelessly. I am in constant contact with them on the incredible cases that they're making to keep our country safe.
The clip we've just watched reveals a series of significant concerns raised by Senator Cory Booker regarding the current state of law enforcement, the allocation of resources, and the broader implications of administrative changes within the Department of Justice, DOJ, and other agencies. At the heart of his remarks lies the question of how these shifts in governmental structure, specifically the dissolution of the Executive Office of OSEDF, Office of Special Enforcement and Domestic Justice Forces, will impact the functioning of law enforcement, particularly particularly in terms of its to address pressing concerns such as public corruption and corporate concentration. Let's break down the key aspects of this conversation to understand the depth and broader implications of these issues. Senator Booker's remarks about the dissolution of the executive office of OSEDF and the transfer of its responsibilities directly to law enforcement agencies were critical. He stressed that while the office itself was being dissolved, the vital work of OSED, Office of Special Enforcement Division, would continue. This is a critical point because it speaks to the administrative restructuring within the DOJ, which can often create uncertainty about the future of certain operations. Booker's words suggest a streamlined shift in focus, where the same resources that were previously allocated to the office will now directly support law enforcement agencies without the intermediary of OSEDF. This restructuring of the OSEDF and its consequences is a microcosm of the broader trend toward consolidation of government agencies. When administrative shifts like this occur, especially in law enforcement agencies that work on national security and domestic terrorism, questions arise about efficiency, accountability, and the potential loss of focus on critical areas of operation. While Senator Booker assured that no work would be sacrificed in the process, there is a concern that the work of such a specialized office could be diluted in the new structure, leading to reduced capacity for addressing specific issues such as financial crimes or organized domestic terrorism. In his testimony, Senator Booker emphasized the importance of continuing the work of OSED without any setbacks, reassuring that law enforcement agencies, including Homeland Security and others, would work together seamlessly. However, the practical implications of such changes are significant. Law enforcement agencies may face new operational challenges in the absence of a centralized office, especially when resources are reallocated and integrated into existing structures that may already be stretched thin. One of the most striking aspects of this discussion is Senator Booker's focus on public corruption. He brought up the dramatic reduction in the number of prosecutors working on public corruption cases, citing a decrease from 36 full-time prosecutors to just 2. Public corruption is a bipartisan concern, as it affects not only public trust in government, but also the stability of democratic institutions. Booker's statement clearly points to the diminishing capacity of the DOJ to address public corruption at a time when such issues are prevalent across both political parties. This observation ties directly into the broader theme of resource allocation. By slashing resources for public corruption investigations, the DOJ risks undermining its ability to hold powerful individuals and entities accountable. Public corruption, as Senator Booker notes, has been an ongoing issue in the U.S., and the shrinking capacity to tackle these cases could lead to a situation where influential figures escape scrutiny, leading to even more trust issues between the public and the government. The implication here is not just about prosecuting wrongdoing, but about the integrity of the entire legal system. As public trust in government institutions wanes, so too does the strength of democratic values that hold these institutions accountable. When cases of corruption go unchecked, it creates a cycle where individuals in power feel emboldened to act with impunity. The resources allocated to investigate such cases are crucial for maintaining the social contract between the people and the government, and any cutbacks or shifts in focus could endanger this trust. Senator Booker's concerns about public corruption are particularly resonant, given the widespread belief that both major political parties have faced significant challenges in maintaining ethical standards. For example, the handling of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, which the DOJ has effectively stopped enforcing, and the disbanding of the Foreign Influence Task Force raise alarm bells. These moves are seen by some as indications of a failure to address international corruption and foreign interference, especially when powerful individuals, like Trump donor Andrew Weidenhorn, seem to escape indictment. The perception that the DOJ is not pursuing these cases as vigorously as it once did contributes to the growing sense of disillusionment and skepticism about the fairness of the justice system. Another major issue raised by Senator Booker was the growing corporate concentration in the United States, which has been exacerbated by recent DOJ decisions on antitrust matters. The senator pointed to the massive merger between Hewlett-Packard Enterprises and Juniper Networks, which, according to reports, had been approved by the DOJ, despite opposition from career antitrust staff. This is a major point of contention, as the consolidation of corporate power is seen by many as a direct threat to competition, innovation, and the general well-being of consumers. When the DOJ overrules its own experts in favor of corporate mergers, it signals a shift away from rigorous antitrust enforcement. Such moves raise questions about the influence of corporate money in politics and the degree to which large corporations can shape government policies to their benefit. Senator Booker's concerns reflect broader public fears about the unchecked power of large corporations, which can lead to monopolistic practices, higher prices for consumers, and diminished economic opportunities for smaller businesses. Corporate power is a critical issue, as it often results in a concentration of wealth and influence that undermines democracy itself. When a few large corporations control key sectors of the economy, they can exert undue influence over political processes, further distorting the priorities of lawmakers and weakening democratic accountability. The issue of corporate consolidation isn't just about economics. It has far-reaching implications for political power, public policy, and fairness in the marketplace. Senator Booker's remarks on this issue underscore the need for antitrust enforcement to protect consumers and maintain competitive markets, which is crucial for safeguarding democracy. Interestingly, Senator Booker also acknowledged the bipartisan nature of antitrust issues. In his remarks, he recognized the work being done by the Antitrust Subcommittee, noting the collaboration between him and Senator Mike Lee on these matters. Antitrust, often viewed as a contentious issue, is one area where there is significant bipartisan agreement, and both parties have recognized the growing concern about corporate monopolies and the dangers they pose to free markets and competition. This is particularly noteworthy in a political environment where division and partisanship are often the norm. The bipartisan nature of antitrust concerns could signal a rare area where policymakers on both sides of the aisle are able to work together to address a pressing issue. As Senator Booker pointed out, corporate power is growing, and the ability of antitrust laws to rein in monopolistic behavior is critical for maintaining economic fairness and protecting consumers. The question that remains, however, is whether the DOJ's current trajectory, particularly in terms of its handling of corporate mergers and antitrust enforcement, is in line with the public interest. Another critical point that came up in the clip was Senator Booker's mention of law enforcement agents, particularly in the context of a government shutdown. Senator Booker highlighted that agents were working tirelessly, even without pay, to keep cities safe. This brings attention to the often overlooked reality of law enforcement. While the public may be unaware of the sacrifices made by these agents, their work is essential for the functioning of the justice system. The idea that these agents continue to work despite not being compensated is a testament to their dedication, but it also speaks to the larger issue of underfunded and understaffed government agencies. Senator Booker's remarks draw attention to the fact that law enforcement personnel, whether in the FBI, DEA, or ATF, are doing critical work under increasingly difficult circumstances. These agents are on the front lines of national security, drug enforcement, and other high-stakes investigations, yet they are not receiving the pay or resources they need to do their jobs effectively. This raises questions about the long-term sustainability of the government's ability to protect its citizens and maintain law and order. And, furthermore, the allocation of resources across various law enforcement agencies raises important questions about prioritization. While agencies may be doing their best under the circumstances, there is a need for a more strategic approach to resource distribution, especially in times of austerity. The DOJ's ability to balance competing demands, such as prosecuting public corruption, investigating corporate monopolies, and maintaining national security, is key to ensuring that the most pressing issues are addressed effectively. Finally, the conversation about the dismantling of the public integrity section and the reassignment of prosecutors also touches on a broader shift toward decentralization. Rather than having one central unit in Washington, D.C. handling cases of public corruption, these cases are now being distributed across various U.S. attorney offices nationwide. This could have mixed implications. On the one hand, decentralization might lead to more localized attention and potentially more tailored approaches to specific cases. On the other hand, it could lead to inconsistencies in how cases are handled and a loss of specialized expertise that was once concentrated in a central unit. The shift away from a centralized office, while potentially increasing efficiency in some ways, could undermine the coordination and consistency that a single office provided. The concern here is that without a strong, unified central office to handle public corruption, cases might become more fragmented or less effective, ultimately weakening the country's ability to tackle corruption at the highest levels. Senator Booker's statements provide a detailed and nuanced critique of current administrative changes within the DOJ and other law enforcement agencies, from the ongoing work of OSED to concerns about public corruption, corporate concentration, and the allocation of resources, the conversation touches on key issues that affect the integrity and effectiveness of the justice system. These issues are not just about the technicalities of policy changes, but reflect broader concerns about fairness, accountability, and democracy itself. As we continue to examine these issues, it's clear that the choices made by policymakers will have lasting consequences, not just for law enforcement, but for the future of democratic governance and the rule of law. The questions raised by Senator Booker are urgent, and the answers will shape the direction of the U.S. justice system for years to come.